everybody, this is Caitlin here, aka Scribble Sketch, and welcome back to some more spoiler discussion for us for Force of Will. Today we are going to be covering some green and some darkness. We have a little bit more of the memes and a little bit more of the fallen angels slash kind of dark denizens of Rain Ruins. I'm never going to get over that name in all honesty, it's still hilarious to me. But we're going to start off here with the Mimi tribe with green, and we have here a lovely master rune, Elephant Rush. It is a 5-cost rune, it is 2 wind and 3 void with a divinity of 2. It is also a master rune, so this is only for Chimimi. You put 3 1000 wind elephant resonator tokens into the field. Players cannot chase to this card. Now, this is kind of interesting for a master rune because it specifically states wind elephant, so as opposed to just being beasts. So I guess you can't use any buffs or whatever that specifically target beasts, but this is still pretty decent. So like for the cost of 5 and your divinity of 2, you are getting 3 1000 resonators into your field, and it doesn't say that they disappear at the end of turn or anything like that. It just says that you cannot chase to the card. So unless your opponent has some way to remove them once the chase is over, whatnot, whether like once your turn has passed, they have no way of dealing with this. So they need to wait until your turn is over essentially before they can respond to this in particular, which I find really interesting. It also just means that we get some more beefy resonators for the memes, and it would be like a really good idea for you to get these elephants into the field before you, or maybe after you flip Chimimi in order to get that blanket buff effect and whatnot. But seems to be probably one of the better master runes that we've seen. At the bottom here it says, "Stomp them underfoot me," says Chimimi here. Next up, we have Forced Meditation. It is a 2-cost rune. It is 1 wind and 1 void with a divinity of 3. You choose up to 2, put target resonator from your graveyard into your hand, or put 2 target magic stones from your graveyard into the field, or draw a card. So I guess this is a way to kind of counteract if you're playing the elephant resonator where you need to banish a stone. This is a way to fish those stones back into your magic stone field, because it says from your graveyard into the field, so once you've sacked them you can get them back, and obviously it doesn't say that they come in tapped, so I'm guessing you can still tap them for will. This is also just another way of drawing cards and obviously getting some resonators from your graveyard into your hand as opposed to getting them back into your field. But you know, I guess this is just a way to cycle stuff essentially. The god of the forest grants mysterious power to those who pray. Next up, we have Raft Downstream, which is a very cute looking card here. I really like the little pygmy hippos and whatnot, and we get a better look at what some of the memes look like. I didn't realize that they had tails. This is just new to me. I guess I just wasn't paying attention too much. So they seem to have like almost like beaver-like tails. It's kind of interesting. I quite like that design aspect. So it's a 4-cost rune. It is 2 wind and 2 void with divinity of 2. It's also quick cast. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 wind cards among them, and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any random order, or rather in a random order. So this is essentially, you're looking at the top 4, you're drawing 2 for the cost of 4 and a divinity of 2, which I guess is like not too bad. I mean, you are drawing 2 and you're getting your pick of 4 different cards. You do have to put the other 2 on the bottom of your deck though, so that's like the kind of trade-off. So you need to like kind of figure out which one you need right now and which one you don't particularly need at the moment. The river is the most dangerous place in Lost Isles. You never know when a Mimi tribesman will come flowing down, so you'd be riding down the river on your hippos. Next up, we have a Rapid Fire Me, which I quite like. That is really, really cute. It's a 1-cost rune. It is 1 wind with divinity of 2. This card deals 400 damage to each resonator your opponent controls, which again is pretty nice if you know that your opponent has got, say, some low-cost tokens. They've got like swarming with low-cost resonators and whatnot, so this will be a good way to chip them all off, presuming that all of them are 400 or less defense. Kill them all, me. Very, very bloodthirsty is the memes by the looks of it. And we have a kind of like hand-in-hand rune here with Snipe Away Me. I wonder if like a lot of these runes or spells are just going to have me at the end of it here, which is kind of funny. So this one is another 1-cost rune. It is 1 green. This one's divinity of 3. Rest a recovered J-Ruler you control. If you do, destroy target resonator. So this one I don't like as much because obviously you need to rest your J/Ruler in order to do so. Because it needs to be recovered, and you are just destroying a resonator. So there are like better spells that can destroy resonators without having to affect your J-Ruler, so I don't like this one as much, but the artwork does look nice. I'm not quite sure what this kind of beast thing at the bottom here is. It looks like it's eating a leaf or something, and this Mimi is about to snipe it in the head, and I feel kind of sorry for it. It's too late to beg for your lives, me. Oh, these memes are just bloodthirsty. Next up, we have a couple more resonators here. We have Atlantis, the wielder of knowledge. So that's a funny name to name this Mimi, Atlantis. Quite interesting. It's a 3-cost resonator. It's 2 wind and 1 void. It's 400, 1200. So it's got a decent amount of defense. You discard a chant. If this card gains 800 attack until end of turn, play this ability only once per turn. So essentially, you can make it a 12-12 if you get rid of a chant. Easily, you could like just ditch some chants, even if like maybe I think we still have some chants. And once we get into the new frontiers, essentially, once Lapis is rotated out, I'm pretty sure there's still some that have Remnant, so you could still play it from graveyard. So you could easily just ditch one of those and give it the 800 buff. This is actually quite a decent card, I think, for a 3-cost, especially with this ability. I mean, you can only do it once per turn, but if you could do it more than once per turn, it would be pretty broken, I think. Knowledge can also be used to strike. And we have a SR resonator here. We have Lumeria of the Magic Boomerang. She looks really cute. I quite like her. She's a 3-cost resonator. She's 1 wind and 2 void. 0 attack and 800 defense. She has an enter ability here where you put 2 fling counters on this card. If there are 2 or more wind runes revealed from your rune area, put 4 fling counters on this card instead. And then you can remove a fling counter, and this card gains 1000 attack until end of turn. You can only play this ability once per turn, so again, you're only doing this once. And you can pay a wind and a void, remove 2 fling counters from this card, destroy target resonator. So this is, again, another means of destroying things that your opponent controls using these different fling counters. It doesn't seem like you can get more fling counters once she enters, though, so you either just get 2, or you're getting the 4 and you're using them up, and that's it. So unless you have some way of bouncing her to play her again, you're not getting too much use out of either your 2 or your 4 flying counters, so you need to be very careful about what you use them for. The only member of the Mimi tribe able to freely manipulate the boomerang is Lumeria, so that's kind of interesting. We've got like some specific Mimis here to join with Chamimi. Next up, we have the Magic Boomerang, which is a quick cost chant. It is 1 wind. You choose one, target resonator gains flying until end of turn, or return target resonator you control to its owner's hand, or this card deals 400 damage to target resonator. So again, you could use this to bounce Lemuria to your hand and play her again once she's used up all her fling counters. So that would probably be the best use for this, I feel, or you could give something flying, because I know a lot of things in green don't come with flying as standard, as I've explained lots before. It's kind of funny how the attribute of wind doesn't actually have many resonators that fly. I always found that to be quite funny. The Mimi tribe's magic is a combination of skill and brute strength. I mean, looking at the size of her, you would need brute strength in order to fling that boomerang. It's kind of silly. Next up, we have the Mimi Tribe Explorer, a 2-cost resonator, 1 wind and 1 void, 400, 600. When it enters, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a Mimi Tribe from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Again, I feel like for each of the different resonator races and whatnot, we're going to get a lot of cards that will be search, so that way you can like filter through your deck and whatnot, because we are going to be like focusing in on attribute-based, or rather resonator-based searching. So I think this kind of more encourages the mono color play as opposed to mixing colors, but I guess we'll just need to wait and see, because definitely we don't have really any actual jewel stones really in particular. I mean, there's that one for angels, I think, or whatever, but it's really, really interesting. I'm not quite sure how to feel about it. The explorers of the Mimi tribe aren't an organised bunch. The majority of their time is spent bickering over who will lead for that day. Also, this Mimi is kind of creepy looking, mainly because of the red reflected in their eyes from the fire. It makes them look kind of demonic. Reminds me of when you had those like old-fashioned like wind-up cameras, and whenever you took pictures of it, everyone would just have red eyes. It was like, everyone looks demonic when you take those kind of pictures. Well, now we are moving on to Darkness, my one that I'm kind of the most interested in until we see what Isis does. Azazel, the Fallen Angel of Gloom. She's a 4-cost resonator. She's 2 Darkness and 2 Void, 900, 1000 Fallen Angel. She comes with flying. You may pay 2 Void less to play this card if your opponent has 1 or less cards in their hand. So again, she's really encouraging you to do that discard strategy. And when she enters, you choose one. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put a card from among them into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. Or target 2 resonators your opponent controls. Your opponent banishes one of them. So again, this one is kind of like you've got 2 choices here. Because you're looking at the top 2 cards, it's kind of funny how it says put the rest in your graveyard. Surely it means put the other one in your graveyard, but I guess it's just the wording of it there. It's kind of a little bit odd. I really like her artwork. She's really interesting looking. I like her a lot. She seems to have some kind of weird, kind of, I don't know if that's a cloak or some kind of like cloth that she's got draped around her or whatever, but she does look really interesting. I'm loving her design. She's like, doesn't look as evil, but she's certainly quite dark here. And at the bottom here, she says, "Don't worry, I shall free you from your suffering now." And I'm going to assume free you from your suffering is maybe end your life right now. Next up, we have one of the characters that I am quite interested in seeing more of because he is looking pretty awesome. We have Belial, the evil from the scriptures. He is he's a 6 cost resonator. He's 3 darkness and 3 void, a 12 and 1200 fallen angel with flying. If your life is 1000 or less, you may pay 3 void less to play this card. So if you have 1000 or less life, then you can play him for just 3 darkness. So he's really an end game kind of card. When he enters, you destroy all non-fallen angel resonators, and whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from the field, this card deals 100 damage to your opponent. So this card, particularly Belial, is encouraging you really to be playing fallen angel resonators in particular. So while Lucifer does have like other creatures that are not fallen angels, so he's got like some humans, I think he had a beast or something like that because he had like followers and everything that were human. This one in particular really encourages you to play fallen angel ones because that way because in that instance you can make sure that most of your resonators aren't destroyed, although it does say whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from the field. So I guess that also includes your resonator as well. So if you had anything on the field that was also not a fallen angel and it would die, they would actually contribute to dealing 100 damage to your opponent. So I guess that's kind of like another reason for running non-fallen angels, because then you could say, oh, I've got these followers and whatnot, they're going to die, but each one is going to like deal 100 damage to you. So I can see that. Also, his design is very strange because he's got this like, kind of bad boy-esque thing. He's got like the pointy ears, he's got these awesome horns, he's got these fabulous wings, but just behind the text box here, he looks like he's got like bird legs by the looks of it. I don't know whether those are shoes or whether those are his actual legs, but they look like bird feet or something, like raptor talons or something like that. So I don't know whether that's just his actual feet or whether those are some kind of funky boots that he's got going on. The wicked need a messiah to show them the way. Yes, someone like me. So I guess he's maybe like Lucifer's right-hand man, I guess, because he's like, they need a messiah. So he's like, I'm going to be that messiah. Very, very interesting here. Next up, we have Look of Corruption. It is a 1-cost chant with 1 darkness. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card with total cost 4 or less, they discard that card. If this card was awakened, also choose a card with total cost 5 or more, they discard that card. So this is basically the better Thought Control. And basically Lucifer's going to have so much fun when he has this card and Thought Control in his deck. There's just going to be so much discard. The Awakening is also 1 darkness and 1 void. So darkness is going to enjoy all this discard play. If you can't resist, then obey. Obedience is a virtue, says Belial, the evil from the scriptures. It's kind of funny how he says it's a virtue, but I guess fallen angels would all be about sins. It's kind of funny. Next up, we have Minister of Grief, a 4-cost resonator. It's 2 darkness, 2 void. It's only 500. It's also a human / a wizard. You're a wizard. You're a wizard. I can't. Every time I hear wizard, I want to make that joke. When it enters, resonators your opponent controls gain -5/5 until end of turn. So again, not really that great a card for 4 costs. It's like, it is really, really weak. And I'm not too sure where the enter ability. It would have been cooler if it was like a blanket effect where it lasted for your opponent's side for like the rest of the game. It might have been a little bit better. So I'm not so sure if I would ever play this card. The cries of the wicked plants fear into the heart, which is kind of scary. And then next up we have a bunch of runes and whatnot. We have Black Rosario. The 2-cost rune is actually the bastard rune for Lucifer. It is 2 darkness and a divinity of 2. Obviously you can only play it if Lucifer is your ruler. Your opponent banishes 2 resonators. Pretty simple, not much else to say about this in all honesty. Is they banish 2 resonators. They obviously get to choose which resonators it is, but this one is like, well, they have to banish 2 of them, so this is better than some of the other banishing cards that we've had. This grave post shall be my last gift to you, says Lucifer, so very interesting, but not much else to really say about that card other than the artwork is very nice. Next up we have Demon Division, a 2-cost rune. It is 2 darkness and with a divinity of 2. Search your deck for a card and put it into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Again, pretty simple here. It's just a search one and it's putting it into your hand. Not much else to see here. It doesn't actually specify too much that it has to be a darkness card. It's just any card. So I guess you could play this in the Lich deck if you really wanted to as well. It's not really specifically for Lucifer. The demons will always hear out your wish. Whether or not they grant it is up to their whims. Next up we have Jet Black Wings, which is a very nice looking card. It's a quick cast rune. It's 2 darkness and 1 void with a divinity of 3. Resonators your opponent controls gain -6/6 until end of turn. So right off the bat, this rune is kind of better than that wizard resonator and whatnot, and I quite like it. Even if it is still just till end of turn and might be a little bit more expensive because you have to use some of your divinity, but it's still a pretty nice rune. The jet black wings dance about in the sky. All who touch it have their lives taken away. Wow. Lucifer obviously has to have the best wings in all of the rain runes. And then next up we have Sword of Lament, featuring not Sephiroth on this card. It's a 3-cost rune. It's quick cast as well. 2 Darkness and 1 Void, similar to the other one. A Divinity of 3. Destroy target J-Ruler. That is basically it. So basically we've got Black Moonbeam back in here, except this Black Moonbeam can be chased too, and probably could be cancelled because I'm guessing that since this has quick cast, it could be cancelled by things like Fair Spell and whatnot. I'm not sure if we're going to get any counter, like cards that actively counter runes, or if things that cancel chance could still cancel runes, or whether it would have to be a chance/rune in order to cancel it. I'm not too sure about that. A Blade of Cruelty. Not much else to say there. And then finally we have Tears of the Fallen, which is a card which I feel like will make it into basically anyone's rune deck regardless of attribute. It's a 0-cost rune with a Divinity of 2. Your opponent discards a card at random, which is basically it. I can see because this has no attribute and it only costs 2 Divinity. Everyone will probably be playing this no matter what ruler they're running, because you don't specifically need darkness in order to play this card, so I imagine this will probably make it a staple in pretty much everyone's rune area and whatnot. We will probably see Tears of the Fallen quite a lot. Tears of the Heartbroken rain down on this land. And that is it for these spoilers, guys. I've been kind of like firing through most of them because I didn't want to spend too much time on them, because I've been looking back on recent videos and they've been like nearly 20 minutes long, even though I am trying my best to get through them as quickly as possible. But I'm doing my best here to get covered with all these spoilers. So I hope you enjoyed these spoilers, guys. I will try and keep on top of them as I'm going through them and whatnot. Let me know what you guys think of these spoilers. Do you think that some of these darkness cards are pretty broken? I would love to hear from you guys. So until next time, I will see you all later. This video was made possible thanks to patrons such as Alucard, Craig McCutcheon, and the Carnivalous Waltz.